So good morning, Panthers. It's Tuesday. So Nella, Wuthering Heights. I'm really glad that you made your Wuthering Heights video because I'm very interested in hearing what you had to say about it. I mean, I read it once about 21 years ago. And so, I mean, having only read it the once and having read it a long time ago, I don't remember it very well. Like, I have only a very vague impression of the novel, but I remember that my expectations of the book did not match up with the reality of it because I had heard what a great love story it was. I mean, I was a little bit skeptical going into it because I had already read Jane Eyre, which granted is by a different Brontë, but still. Although I really enjoyed Jane Eyre, I don't know, I wasn't bowled over by the romance between Jane and Mr. Rochester. Which I had also heard, great things about as a love story. So I was a little skeptical going into Wuthering Heights, and then I read it. I mean, I just remember being really unconvinced. Like, I don't remember any of the details of the book. I don't remember anything really about it. But as you say, like, I remember, like, feeling that that it was a story about hate rather than love. You're talking about the way that your perception of it changes as you age. And it's weird because it's not like I had some greatly evolved ideas of romance as a teenager, because I didn't. I would have been about not quite 17 at the time. But I was really struck by it. I remember really not finding it a love story. Although I will say that I think one of the greatest bits of Bridget Jones, not the movie, it's because it's not in the movie, there's a Wuthering Heights joke right at the beginning of Bridget Jones' Diary. It struck me as pretty ridiculous to be called Mr. Darcy and to stand on your own looking snooty at a party. It's like being called Heathcliff and insisting on spending the entire evening in the garden shouting Kathy and banging your head against a tree. And it always makes me laugh. But yeah, I'm really glad that you talked about it. I wish that I had more to say about it, but I remember so little about the book that I really don't have anything to say. I'm kind of tempted to go and reread it now just so I have something to say about it. Jane Eyre, though, you're talking about how books change as you read them. And I've read Jane Eyre probably about 4 times in the last 20 years. I think I read it the first time, I think I was about 13. So I read it several times over the years, and I find it's very strange. It's a book that changes every time I read it. Not even necessarily like my perception of the characters' interactions, but my feeling about the tone of the book. Like, I remember reading it in my early 20s and finding a lot more humor in it than I had remembered from reading it in my late teens. And then I read it in my late 20s and I was like, where did all the humor go? I remember there being a lot more humor and now it's not there again. Every time I've read the book, my feelings about the tone of it have changed. So I don't know what is going on with that. Something weird apparently happens in my head when I read Jane Eyre. But I'm a chronic rereader. I reread a lot. So I'm going to try to think of more books that have had a significant change between readings. Because I know there have been some, but of course I can't think of any of them right now. So as I say, I'm really glad that you made your Wuthering Heights video, and I'm really enjoying the sort of a lot of book talk recently. It's fun. I like that. I like books. I like talking about books. So I will see you guys next week. I love you, and I hope you are doing awesome. GFTBA.